Welcome to Guys Unpacked. This is Dre.
This is Rich, and we're back with another brand new episode for you guys. So before we get anything started, make sure you like and subscribe. Click the link. Follow us on all social media platforms so you stay informed whenever we got new episodes for you guys.
Comment, share, all that shit.
All of that good stuff. So, Dre.
Yo.
Party this weekend.
Yeah. Carnivalish.
Was nice.
It was nice. Yeah.
Especially for a pop-up, because you dropped it
the week before.
You debuted it here 2 weeks earlier. No flyer, no nothing.
Right, and not even no details.
We didn't. Right, he was like, I think we're gonna do something a little sooner, and I was like, I'm thinking you talking about the 20th. Come to find out, y'all had a whole nother thing. So
it was totally last minute. It was totally impromptu, and part of the reason why is because it was Carnival weekend.
It's Carnival Monday right now.
Right, it's Carnival Monday right now. I hadn't seen anything like promoted at all for this weekend, and I was like, you know what? I know I'm not gonna be in Trinidad. I want to do something. It don't got to be nothing crazy. I just want to be able to play a little bit of soca,
right,
party a little bit, take a little drink, ting, and then like quickly I was like, yo, I'm old. I don't want to party late.
We definitely old. So.
All right, I was like, let me party a little earlier.
Right.
I think I chose a little bit too early.
You opted the other direction. Like, we also old. We're not waking up that early either. We made it out there. I was like, oh, shit.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it was a good vibe. I think typical, like, for DC.
Yeah.
Especially that last minute, we had a decent crowd. I think one of the things that's kind of bittersweet. On one hand, I love that people were just chilling. Like, it wasn't like a party. You know what I mean? Like, people did party, but a lot of folks were literally just eating their brunch,
their vibes and
drinking whatever and chilling. But on the other side, I mean, I do kind of want to see people like pump.
Yeah, but you know what I think happens with that? Now that we can like look back and critique it, I think because you threw it during those brunch hours.
Sure.
Like, because even like typical in DC, that 11 to...
Party foul.
Right. That like 11 to 3 hour is typically when you're eating, and then the day party starts after that. So most people at that point are still like, all right, Well,
they didn't show up on time. So like, I figured that people would have showed up a little on time, got their little mimosas and stuff early.
On time,
I know.
All the way wishful thinking on your part.
Very much so. Very much so.
But that was a nice little vibe. Oh, before we even get to other party promo, the mix is dope, son.
Thank you.
So, hey, if you haven't heard the mix yet,
go to SoundCloud, go to Mixcloud, search for DJ Hazard Music.
Link right there for the SoundCloud, and it's a nice pump, son.
I appreciate it, yo. Like I had a lot of fun with it. Primarily because there's no carnival, so like I'm in my basement and I'm jamming to that joint. I actually did it twice.
Yeah.
Because the first time I was like, it's there, but there's just like little pieces that's not there, and then like after I got used to it, because truth be told, the way I actually get like ready for Trinidad is doing the mix.
Okay.
Right? So like I have all the music from early, but like understanding how songs transition into other songs, whatever, that's a lot harder without actually doing the work.
Without actually playing them.
So like the mix, especially because it's long. I'm such a child. Right. But like especially since like these days, 2.5, 3.5 hours now, it takes time to actually go through the entire thing.
And because the artists put out so much music. So it was like, to even get all the music on one mix.
And I left a lot of stuff out. Yeah. Like,
and then there's a lot of stuff that was coming out from like Miami and from like even before that because there was no carnivals, there's still like, there's still technically 2022 releases.
I dropped the mix the Thursday. So I finished recording it on the Wednesday, right? Dropped it the Thursday. Saturday morning,
Marshall and them dropped new music.
Marshall dropped that rhythm, and then and Bungie dropped another rhythm too.
Yeah, so they still putting.
And I was like, I could have put it on the mix. I was like, you know what? It's fine.
That's right, Ryan and put a brain.
They put it out.
Ryan knew all this stuff still coming. He's like, you know what?
He probably had this shit from before anyway. Like at least like the pre-release pieces of it. Yeah.
But son. So yeah, the mix is dope. I like the pace of it at the front. Like, I'll be honest, I don't think I've made it through the whole thing yet because I've been listening to it like in the gym. Okay. So I typically get into about like an hour and a half of it.
Okay. So like right as they're moving from the fast back to the slow.
Right as it starts to get into the groovy is about the time I'm finishing my workout anyway.
Sure.
So I've only ever heard the first half. That's what I was telling you earlier. Like the first half is pace. It's perfect for the gym. Like gets me through the workout. So really good.
Yeah. And what's funny is like that's not how I used to do mixes at all. I used to be very much thinking about it from the standpoint of I'm going to play from here and I'm going to build the entire thing, right? So I'd start out with the slowest song and bring it up, and then we're going to end with the pace. Yeah. But I realized, for me at least, from a marketing standpoint, you got to get people hooked
Absolutely.
on the mix, like within like the first 5-10 minutes.
Oh,
and it can't be hooked on, like I can't start with like with the Neutron on the Uncle Joe.
Right,
Like
Dong
Day. Like I mean, like that's dope song, but it's still too slow.
Right, absolutely. And that's the thing, like it's not that it's not a good mix song. It's good in the mix, but like you said, it starts the mix off in a very groovy pace. Now I know some people will do like a mix that's all groovy, and that's fine because you know when you see, oh, this is gonna be groovy.
Right.
I'm gonna play this in certain places. Like when this is what I want to hear, I know it's all here versus this mix is all pace. So with a mix like this where it is comprehensive,
yep,
I like it when it starts off fast. Personally, that's my preference. So
yeah.
So now the mix is done.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the 20th now.
Strictly soca. So strictly the best. Jesus Christ.
Yes, co-opting people parties.
It is strictly soca, but no, strictly the best. Yeah. So again, it's gonna be March 20th, Sunday. Freeze is coming down from New York.
Sunday, March 20th. Freeze back at Mix Bar and Grill in Silver Spring.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna hear some of the music on the mix, right? Because you know, all the DJs doesn't want to play new music and thing in parties.
Yo, so but that's a good point because if we're gonna go back to Carnivalish, there was like a point where like when Maji was playing, and he was playing a lot of the older music.
Yeah.
You know, last year and years before.
Yeah.
People are grooving. And you know me, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna play what I want to play.
Right.
So as I come on, I play a little bit of the older shit, but then I went like hardcore into the newer shit.
Yeah.
And I could actually see the crowd starting to chill. And I don't know if it was because they were like, I'm just not partying to this, or I'm just digesting it, or whatever it was.
Sometimes we don't know. Like, not even we. Like, and we always talk about this. Like, I think a lot of the crowd doesn't know it yet, hasn't heard it yet, hasn't heard it in that party environment.
Sure.
And like, even with Carnivalish, because it was already a kind of a chill vibe,
party, yeah.
Like, you do get that sense of, okay, I know this song, but I don't know. I haven't really partied to this yet, and
I haven't decided if this is a song I want to party to yet.
Right. So, but it's still, I still think it's important that stuff plays.
Well, it has to.
Whether the people respond to it or not, because it's like, look, these are the songs for this year.
Right. Like whether you like it or not, like you're gonna like it.
We're not gonna be playing Fast Wine every party. Like that's not gonna be the prime time.
And we're not playing Balance anymore. So, but I think the beauty is also for DC. So for Strictly the Best, because Freeze is coming down.
Yeah.
People here, for some reason, I mean, I can't even take it personally at this point in time, gravitate toward out-of-town DJs playing music a little bit more sometimes, especially the newer music. They give like a little bit more benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Match that with the fact that Freeze has a crazy energy when he's like playing, like when he's micing as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's gonna play a lot of the newer stuff. I'm sure Maji will too, but like I know Freeze is gonna play a lot of the newer shit.
Absolutely,
And not gonna give a shit if y'all partying anyway, and be like, y'all need to get used to it. Like he has very much that back to basics vibe when it comes to that.
I will introduce you to this music. Get used to it.
Facts.
You know what? We'll play it again.
Right.
Don't worry.
I don't think you heard it the first time.
We'll play it again. Don't worry.
Right.
Don't worry. You go listen to it till I see you jumping up. So yeah, like I'm looking forward to it. So again, everybody, March 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Strictly the Best, the Soca edition.
Right.
I know the dance hall, the Afro beats, all those editions are coming, but
of course
we just start with the Soca edition. Big up DJ Majestic, Freeze International, DJ Hazard, March 20th, Mix Bar and Grill, be there.
Yep.
Of course, after that, we got April 24th, Sunday, April 24th. It's all about Prestige, going down at Privilege Lounge, DC, 1115 U Street Northwest. Amazing cast, amazing line. I'm ready for it. Like, when I say ready for it, like, I've been like, as the planning phase is done, and now I'm really starting to like think about the lineup, think about what I want to hear, think about the little nuances and details. I'm excited, dog. It's 2 months out, but I'm excited.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the lineup, because you would hit me up, full disclosure, he hit me up and said I want to hire you, but you hadn't told me who else was on the lineup. Right. So like I knew I was playing, and I always trust you. You're gonna bring a strong lineup.
Yeah.
When I saw eventually I knew that Just Jay was going to be on there because we spoke about that because like I reached out to him.
Yeah.
Figured Maji would be on there as well, but then as I start seeing more, I'm like, this is a really strong lineup, and and what I look forward to like with that lineup, and hopefully this is how it goes. Everybody just plays their role. So like even if, and I know this is not going to happen, but like even if I were to play first, right? I know that my responsibility is to play, so that the next DJ, so let's say Precious is next.
Right.
Precious is to take the baton and then run a
Right,
little
it's
bit
like
farther
no,
and
right.
pass the baton.
It's no egos involved.
None.
And that's why that was a big part of like both picking the lineup, including like the DJs. Because I know everybody on the lineup, you know what I'm saying? It's not like there's nobody on the lineup that this is my first time meeting them or whatever.
Correct.
And like I said, party with all of y'all. So I know there's no egos on it that will ruin the event. And it's just like I envision the vibe just building start to finish. So I'm excited for it. So
I'm taking the Monday off.
Get your absolutely taking Monday. Early bird tickets are on sale right now. They're only $20 right now while supplies last. So get your tickets. Prestige, that's Sunday, April 24th. Doors open at 3 p.m. It's going down at Privilege Lounge in D.C., 1115 U Street, Northwest. And there's the link. So, all right. Now, they got us, dog.
Who?
They bamboozled us.
Who?
Uncle Rowley.
Dog!
He hit us with the okie doke, son.
Dog.
So I'm watching the videos from Carnival, right? And
so
I remember
let's backtrack a little bit before.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you why it hurts my heart even a little more, right?
Because we get catch.
Aside from getting catch, right? So Patrice, my sister, like randomly last week. So this wasn't even on because Tuesday is when we recorded. We record Tuesday, right? Yeah. So I want to say I found out that she was going to Trinidad. I want to say it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. It was real close to like when we recorded, right? So normally I wouldn't offer, but I was like, "Do you need a ride to the airport?" Right? So she says yes, right? So she says she's leaving on Thursday. So I say, "All right, cool." So what time do you need to get to the airport? So she says 5:30. So I'm like, it's early, but I was like, "All right, cool." Right. She's taking an early flight. So I'm automatically assuming because whoever wants to fly out of anywhere but DCA, like that's where I fly out of all the time, right? And there's no direct flight to Trinidad, so why not go to the most convenient airport, which is DCA?
Right, yeah.
So she says 5:30. I say, all right, cool. And then she says BWI. I was like,
I thought she was gonna say
no. Oh, no. I'd have told her she gotta like,
she'd have been on her own if she said dollars. Like,
right. I was like, okay, so BWI is not horrible, but I was like, that's still a drive, dog.
Yeah, especially that time of morning, especially.
And then I'm toting because I'm like, you're about to go to Trinidad. So I'm dropping you to Trinidad.
Right. And I got to take that drive
now I got to drive back home
from BW
at 5:45 in the morning. So she reaches. Yeah. Right? And everything's cool. And I told my best friend, Adele, down there, I was like, all right. I know that normally I would say I don't want to see shit. Yeah. I was like, yo, for one party, because I'm thinking, again, this is just pods.
You thinking pods?
I'm thinking pods.
You thinking of wrestling rings?
Right.
Everybody is gonna be gonna be chill vibes.
So I'm like, yo, from one party, just like FaceTime me. Yeah. I just want to see it like firsthand. I get a text message Saturday, I think it was. Yeah. And she was like, yo, I went in the front of some party. I can't remember what party they went to on the Saturday, or it might have even been the Friday. She's like, and I left my phone in the back with Patrice. So I'd gone up to the stage, and then she ended up up front too. And I was gonna call you.
Nobody in the box.
And I asked her like to get the phone, and she was just like, no. I was like, damn. I was like,
I'm not going back there.
Not only are y'all partying, like I can't get a peek.
Like nope.
Dog. And then I start to your point, I start seeing
videos from people. So So like I started with saying, we get catch.
Bamboozled. We got.
He pulled the wool over our eyes. So I'm gonna tell you what I think it was. Now, so in fairness, I did see like the pods. Sure. So they were set up. Of course. Some of the bigger events were like kind of scaled down in terms of turnout, whatever. But the vibes were still there, son. Like when I was watching like the parties, and then when I saw the one at the water park, I was like, wait a minute.
5 Islands. So I knew they were having it, but like
there's no pods there.
So I didn't think there were gonna be pods there. But when I heard that they were doing the 5 Islands on a Saturday, I still thought that they were gonna figure out some way to do the social distancing, and no.
Voice jumping in what somebody people
in the middle of everybody.
I was like, I would have gone to Trinidad if I know it was this.
Well, remember a couple episodes ago, I was like, I'll go for Panorama. And then at the time, they weren't even having it.
Yeah,
and
then it looked fun. And Panorama looked nice.
Panorama looked real good.
Looked like a real vibe.
So No, there were so many pieces that just had me just pissed.
Let me. I'll tell you what happened, son. Uncle Rowley was like, you know what? We're gonna present this boring taste of Carnival to the masses to keep them away.
Right. And tell them it's only going to be the traditional shit.
And then when we realize, okay, nobody else ain't coming,
right.
I tell you what they want to do.
Right.
And then we sit here like, you got us.
Right.
Good job.
Bro, like
well played.
I'll tell you this. If I hadn't dropped the flyer for Carnivalish last Friday.
You was going?
Yes.
Yeah.
The only reason I was like, not only have we already started pushing it, people had already started buying tickets.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to be that guy because at that point I would have literally been leaving Maji to do everything by himself.
Right.
And
that would have been that would have definitely been a dick move. Like, yeah, we doing this party. I wouldn't trade that. Because Maji would have been like, yeah, me too.
And we would have had a playlist running.
Right.
We had a mix running.
Saturday morning, we were like, so Maji Andre now here? What kind of party is this? So,
I will say this though. So 2023, without a doubt.
I'm not even going that far, son. August, they remember they talked about the Festival of Fets. I go in for that. I don't care. Like, I don't care how scaled down they try to make it sound like it's gonna be. I'm like, no, I'm gonna be there. Right. I'm gonna see it for myself.
I'm gonna take the bluff because even if it's scaled down, I'll leave early if I have to.
Right. Because I know they're supposed to be doing like the band launches and stuff for 22.
Right. Correct.
And then having all their fets and it's Independence Day weekend. Caesars might do Indie Paint.
Dog. I've yet to make it Indie Paint. Dog. Every year there's some reason why I can't make it. And Adele has been trying to get me to Indie Paint forever. So, and every time I see videos, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. So Independence weekend. I'm there, son. Like, they're not fooling me again, son.
No, at all.
I'm gonna be there.
But as you say, you're not going as far as 2023.
When I say not going as far,
no, I know.
I'm
with you on that. But I'm gonna predict that the island of Trinidad and Tobago, well, not Tobago, just Trinidad, is going to sink like the Titanic because the number of people on that island.
They're gonna have to cap that shit out of
and they're gonna hit everybody over the head with pricing. And the wild thing is
everything.
And the wild thing is people will pay. They're not gonna care. They're gonna be like, this is 3 years in the making.
If Trinidad has a carnival, let me tell you. Ryan could charge $400 or $500.
And people gonna pay.
Caesars could charge whatever. People going.
So Ryan and Caesar, like, don't take this as advice.
Right, this isn't a suggestion.
We're not saying that you should do this, but yes.
Only thing I'm not going is Soca. So
I ain't gonna be in there. You know what? I'm gonna buy your ticket, bro.
No, fuck Soca. I will sell it. I ain't going Soca.
Yeah,
son. They're not seeing
Cupid,
me.
you going Soca?
I'll enjoy it. I don't support racism, son.
I mean, you know,
Soca's on some Ukraine shit too.
I'm heavy on the fuck racism right now.
But yeah, son, I'm definitely 100% going. And it was a problem too. Like, so I want to do, if they do Bacchanal Road, I want to do that too.
Bro, I think I'm going to Trinidad for a month.
That's what I'm saying. I might end up having to go from Bacchanal weekend.
Yeah.
And that might be the only way to avoid paying $2,000 for a plane ticket. Like,
so I'll do that, or I've done this before.
Come
there was a year that I went early and came back. So I went Wassa that year.
Yeah.
Because for some reason I had a whole bunch of time off that I could have just used.
Yeah.
And tickets were cheap leading up to Carnival, so I went.
That's what I'm saying. Anyhow you're leaving the island before Carnival,
those
tickets are dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So you can legit go and come back.
And that was when I ain't had no money.
Yeah.
I still don't got no money, but I got a little bit more no money than I did back then.
A little bit more no money.
So like, yeah, I would go early, come back, and then go back down. But like, in total, I'm definitely gonna be in Trinidad for at least a month next year.
Absolutely.
Because that also marks 20 years of me and Adele being best friends. So like,
oh nice.
So we about to turn up. It's about to be ignorant.
I could see it. So let me tell you. Here's what I'm saying. Honestly, not even just you, like just the fact of people having gone 2-3 years without it, everybody's gonna be down there ignorant, dog.
Dog, like I'm actually a little scared to see what we gonna expect because there's gonna be a lot of alcohol poisoning. There are people who are just gonna go too hard.
So there's gonna be people who I think the smart thing would be for most of us. We gotta warm up to it So I'm probably gonna end up in Miami. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm probably gonna do Miami. Might do another little carnival. Like I'm gonna do stuff leading.
You're gonna do stuff so you can build up your.
Like I ain't just going Trinidad.
But I'm not even talking about that though, bro. I'm talking about the people who already don't know how to control themselves.
But that's what right.
And then they go to Trinidad and it's like I haven't been to Trinidad in 3 years, or this is the first time I've ever been there. I think there's gonna be a lot of funny but still serious issues. That like I can't wait to just see. You know how there's always the videos that surface after Carnival.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, ooh,
like
that
was
ugly.
Like, where was his friend?
Yeah, kind of like what I showed you earlier before we started. And homeboy was drunk and ran into the wall.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait to see those. I can't wait to see
the two things I can't wait to see the themes for Brainwash and Ambush. I want to see the mask because other designers had some time. I know they've been putting out costumes for different other carnivals, Miami, Atlanta, and stuff. They had time though, so I hope these.
Oh, don't get it twisted. I mean, worst case scenario, they had mock-ups for what they were going to do for 2021.
Right, exactly.
That they just never put out.
Right, and I feel like at this point, they need to like even go back to the drawing and be like,
and just make it a little bit nicer.
Right. Might need more feathers, right? You know what I mean? We had 2 years. I might
add some beads.
Add some beads on this one. So that's what I'm really excited for. Like that's the actual reason I want to go down for the Festival of Feds. Like I want to see all that firsthand. Dog, I don't want to watch that on TV.
And if sponsors are smart, they will spend heavy money because like there's a number of people that are going to be down there. It's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. And that's the thing. Trinidad always does sponsors, but they don't do sponsors like Jamaica. Their sponsorship deals are way better. That's how they are able to drive down the price of events a lot better in Jamaica than they do in Trinidad. I think in Trinidad, the people, they know it's like, well...
And that's the other thing.
All they're going to come in anyway.
Right, and that's the thing. I think in Trinidad, like you said, if I know you're going to pay it, why do I need to drive the price down?
Yeah, but like...
Because if I'm still going to sell out,
right,
then you're not showing me the benefit of lowering the price.
So here's the value. So maybe not driving down the price itself, but like from a sponsorship standpoint of making sure that there's more presence there, more like better giveaways, all that shit. Like do something. Yeah. Because people are going to be ready for anything.
Right.
But yeah. So Trinidad it's gonna be nice.
I'm excited for it though.
So what about you hear Grenada? They like Spice Mask gonna be on.
I heard Grenada said they're
gonna be on. Lucia.
Yeah.
So we bumping on.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to hit something. Like I told you, I'm out of warm up to trend. Although I don't know that Grenada would necessarily be. I don't know that would be a warm up.
You've never done it, right?
I have not done it yet.
Me neither.
Yeah, so I think that's what I have to do, son.
I'm scared of Grenada.
That's a bucket list carnival.
It's a bucket list for me too, but I'm scared of that shit.
Yeah, I mean, dog, I think it's gonna be wild. I think Grenada gonna be real wildness, but I'm here for the wildness. Oh, like I love a wildness, so I think that's the next.
So my issue is like I'm always behind the scenes. I'm always chilling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In the back. Like, so like I already know that I'm not gonna be able to do that in Grenada because I know
because we about to just take Patrice, son. Like we about to say like alright, Dre, just stay here. We taking Patrice with us.
But we got some boys that are there.
For those of y'all that don't know, between Dre and his sister get all the vibes. If you ever see both of them in a party, and one is chilling and one pumping, you know who is who. Dre is chilling. Patrice, you got all. Yeah, why? Yeah, leave no vibe for Dre after he was born. None.
At all.
So, but yeah, what boys say about Grenada?
But now we got some boys from Grenada who I know, like, if they go down and we all go down, I know they're going to have us drinking white rum and all kind of shit for this.
Grenada is when? End of July? Beginning of August?
Something, so yeah.
Yeah, because I think when is Lucia? Middle of July, right?
Yes.
I gotta look up
early July, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta look up these actual dates. Cause I'm talking about going this carnival and that carnival. I'm like,
you're like, but I don't even know when
I haven't taken time off or anything. Let me make sure I can actually make it to some of these. I gotta hit one. I have to hit one this year. It's gonna be Grenada or Lucia.
Or both.
I don't know about both. I don't know about both.
Come on, bro. Because
I actually think I want to go back to Miami.
So the beauty behind Grenada, if I'm not mistaken, you don't have to go for it in a long period of time.
Yeah, no, I know. Like same thing with Lucia.
Well, Lucia, what I've been told is you got to go at least from like the Wednesday.
Okay.
Before, and then Mass is like it's just like Trinidad, so I think it's a Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, so you have to go for a week for Lucia, but if I'm not mistaken, for Grenada, you don't have to go for as long. All right, we'll double check that.
But yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, if somebody knows,
correct us now.
Hit us up.
Yeah,
because that's what. Yeah, I'm gonna see. And aren't they like real close to? Yeah. I feel like Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada, like super close.
Of course, we going in with the Denry segment in St. Lucia, and then we going to job in Grenada, dog.
That's gonna be
it's gonna be a scene. Yeah, and then and granted, so Skinny and Problem are from St. Vincent.
Yeah.
But like that music transcends.
Oh yeah, all the time.
And they've been dropping some fucking stingers.
A part of me wants to go Vincy, son.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
To go Vincy too.
Without a doubt.
But I feel like they're all three like back to back to back.
I know. And just let Barbados have crop over. I definitely want that.
I think they having it.
Cause that Bashman session.
Yeah, I think they
in crop over is so similar to the Denry segment. It's just like the slackness.
Yeah.
Dog, I want to be all up in it.
Oh, I think they having it, son. I don't even think it's a maybe. I think they having it. Stupid. All right, so. So get to some business now. Biden made his pick.
Yes, he did.
What do you think?
So, kind of back to what we were saying before. I wish he didn't like stress that like he was definitely going to do a black woman.
Right.
Because when you look at her resume, oh, she's so qualified. She did Harvard undergrad. She graduated magna cum laude. She did Harvard Law. She graduated cum laude. She was an editor for the Harvard Law Review. Like she's a strong candidate.
Absolutely, yeah.
Born and raised DC, so you know.
Oh, is she?
Actually, wasn't raised. Born in DC, raised in Miami.
Okay.
Right, raised in Miami. Parents, I think her dad was like a public school teacher.
Okay.
And then decided randomly when she was like a child to go to law school.
Okay.
So like that was part of her inspiration. She was also the clerk for Breyer, who she's gonna be replacing. So like this is like a Cinderella story. Like it's really, really perfect. And like I was saying, Biden just didn't have to say that it was gonna be a black woman, and it would have been dope.
Right, and because that was the problem I already saw, where some, you know, on the right were mentioning that it was like a racially divisive pick simply because you didn't care about the most qualified person.
Right.
You just automatically said you're going to pick a black woman, and it's like, but she is highly qualified.
Right.
And I'm a little torn because I understand. I agree with one of the things that you say. Where
and we got to say the name. We got to say her name.
Ketanj Brown Jackson.
Yep.
Ketanj Brown Jackson. If I'm mispronouncing it.
And she black. She got dreads, which I'm like, oh, this is so dope. Like she black.
Yeah. But like I said, like we had this issue of just you're gonna now try to minimize the selection, and I'm all for where we are actively saying, hey, look, you know what? Sometimes it is a race pick.
Sure.
Like it was like with Brian Flores getting the job, and some people being like, well, of course Mike Tomlin we picked him because he was black. Like, well, no, he's a highly qualified coach.
Right. He's actually overqualified for this.
He's overqualified for it. But even if he picked him because he was black, so what? Like, this was like y'all
qualified for it.
Y'all have been doing the opposite. Y'all have been firing people because they're black. So like, if we've never had a black woman on the Supreme Court before, and someone decides, well, that will be the next pick.
Yep.
Actually, like, don't have an issue with it from that point of view, where you say, hey, this is a thing. Like, as far as racial diversity, this has been missing. So the next person will be this.
Right.
I'm with you. I don't think you needed to say it. You could have had that thought internally, and this way you eliminate people's ability to attack her from that perspective.
Yeah. The one good thing though about it is that she is qualified.
No, super qualified.
And there are actually people on the right who support the nominee. Right? So Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, which he's a huge critic generally. For him to be in support, I think is huge.
But honestly, though, his criticism, honestly, is playing politics. Because him and Biden were friends forever. Sure. Like, a lot of it is like, now you're the president.
Right.
And so I have to oppose.
To a point. And I only say that because, so they are like, they're career politicians. So they've been politicians forever together.
Right.
But, like, what I will say is, to your point, yes, they were friends. But that's because back then, they were all friends.
Right,
like right and left were friends. They might have opposed each other, but it was still very diplomatic. We're in a space now where they're not diplomatic in general.
And that's the point I'm making, where like right now, it's exactly what you just said. Right now, I was reading some of the frustration that Biden has been having was he genuinely believed he could reach across the aisle to certain people and get certain things done.
And they're like, nope.
And now you're seeing like, no,
right.
Like, it's almost like saying, no, what you're saying makes perfect sense, but no.
Right.
You know what I mean? Imagine you tell somebody that, you're like, no, that's a really good idea. I just can't support it.
Right.
But why? Yeah, because
party over politics.
Red, blue.
Right.
And that's the problem that they said that he found a certain level of frustration at first when he realized, like, oh, these people that I'm coming to them with perfect common sense ideas, and they're just opposing, like you said, because of politics. So it's not surprising where, especially when you deal with like a Supreme Court justice, that people on both sides would support certain people, mainly because the justices, regardless of their...
are supposed to be balanced.
Right. So a lot of times, regardless of their affiliation, and this was like what happened with 45, where he thought, oh, I'm going to just plug people in.
And then the people were like...
And get whatever I want. They're like,
we're not actually going to side with you.
Like, we're not siding with you just because. Like, that's illegal. You know what I mean? Like, he got a quick lesson. Like,
and that we don't even agree with it. Like,
that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right. It's not legal. Like, I'm not just going to side with you because you appointed me. Right. So, but congratulations to her. Yep. It is a good look. It is good to have a more diverse Supreme Court. Got the first. It's sad in 2022 we're still getting the first black anything in some of these places. Yeah. Like, in all these years, it's like now it's like, oh, finally the first black woman. But
I think that's a very strong point though, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't make sense that in 2022 we're still doing firsts. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, right? And it's interesting because there are a lot of people who I know who, like white people that I know in particular, who are like, why do we always have to point this out? And the way I respond is always like, because it's still something big. It shouldn't be big. Like, you are on our side to the point where you think this shit should be normal.
Right.
It's just like we think it should be normal, but like, nigga, this is the first time.
Like, you're actually making our point that it shouldn't be a big deal.
Right.
Because I think the SecDef was the first black Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember.
And it was like, yeah, why are we only now in 2022 when you've had so many black candidates for these positions?
Correct.
You know, that we're still... The NFL has no black ownership.
At all. Oh, that's going to change. We already know that's going to change.
Well, right. But I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm with you.
At this point still. So, like... But again, congrats to her.
Mm-hmm.
What else has been happening? Oh, so Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet, they tested them streets and was like, nope.
So, from my understanding, and I might be completely wrong, so, like, don't hate me. I have a feeling it was Jason who was like, I think I gotta test these streets out. And Lisa was like, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I'm not in, but...
So the only...
But you think she was kind of like, see if you find something better. I'll be here.
Right. So I think one, because, I mean, it's Lisa Bonet, man. She...
They're a beautiful couple, son.
Aside from beautiful, like, there are certain people who it is like, there's not much better here. Like... And granted, we're not in a relationship, so she could be a complete psycho behind the scenes.
Right, because remember, like, there was always the joke about, like, how, like, Halle Berry.
Right.
Right, and we would always...
But Halle Berry kind of look crazy, though. She got...
So?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I don't get me wrong. I will still be her husband, even if it's only for a day. Like, yeah. But the funniest is, the way the report read, it was like, Jason Momoa moves back into Lisa Bonet's house.
Right.
So
and they were like, I think like he deleted the post and they're giving love a second chance. Totally. And like their relationship was so cool. Like, I always thought it was cool, like how they were still cool, like Lenny Kravitz. Like, he like that whole dynamic was always dope to me. So it was a mature... Oh yeah, I'm
mixed family.
Very happy for them. But yeah, there's nothing out there.
It was like there's nothing in these streets.
Nothing.
Clearly, Del Curry did not get the memo because
he's still out there.
They're still out there. But I mean, from my understanding, it was like way more than just like him going out. I think that there were issues before,
right?
And his wife was like, nah.
He out here trying to live his best life. Because I think I saw him, not at the, I can't remember where it was.
It was at some game. And
he was out there with like 3 chicks or something. I was like, yo, they'll live in that midlife crisis hard.
So it was a game.
It wasn't an All-Star game.
It wasn't All-Star. The All-Star game was recently.
Was recent, right.
It was a game though that Steph was at.
Right.
And Steph had just done something monumental.
Oh, was it when he when he set the record or something?
I think that's what it was. Right. I think that's exactly what it was. Yes, he said the new 3-point record, and Dell was happy.
Dell was shooting threes of his own, son.
Bro, literally.
Yeah, I mean, I ain't mad at him, yo. Live your life, player. Like I said,
it just doesn't seem very fulfilling.
Real? I mean, listen, the streets are for some people when they don't value what they had at home more than the streets.
That's fair. And you know what? You're right, because there was a point where I was about the streets and now I'm like, God, that shit really wasn't worth it. Like
some people value them streets. Some people are like
the street. There's really nothing in them streets, dog.
Right.
It's nothing. And
you see, Jason and Lisa was like, nah. I think Ben Stiller and his wife got back together too. Like I was. Just so, it's been. Didn't you tell me somebody else? Was it Jason Derulo?
No.
Like I feel like it was like a couple episodes ago. Someone just left and got back with their wife. Well, I'll
go back and figure it out. Like I'll figure it out. I have to go look at the notes. Yeah.
Right, but someone else recently broke up and was like, "Nah, I'm good. Let me go back home." Like,
ain't nothing in the streets.
Nothing out here for me, dog. So,
that is actually though. It's a feel good story, especially when, and I'm not gonna say anybody's name here, but because we decided we're not gonna talk about this guy anymore. But when you look at that situation. And how messy that is, or as messy as it's gotten.
He's a child, though.
No, without a doubt. Without that, and he's like an obsessive child. Right. Because the new chick looks just like the old chick. It's so bad.
He lacks the emotional maturity to even accept where he's fucking up. And then, like you said, you get a copycat version of your other. And this poor woman, I don't know her, and I don't even want to because I feel like I'm speaking. Yeah, we're not knocking her off. We're not. But it's so even to call her something like a copycat is I feel it's kind of discredit because it's not like that was her intention.
Right. I mean,
you look like who you look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just the fact that
but he specifically went for somebody who looks just like his ex-wife. So
that he's been obsessing over up to recently.
Because then he turned the last girl. He tried to prep her to look like her as well. It was just...
and then the other thing, I wonder about the self-esteem of that person, right? Because this is the thing.
Dog.
Imagine.
No.
I get with
I'm not imagining it.
Imagine you get with this girl, right? And up to yesterday, she was on social media stalking her ex.
Right.
And then decides, no, Dre, I want to be with you.
I want you to wear this.
Right.
I want you to wear that. And I'm just sitting but that's not my style though. That's not how that's not.
And then you see the ex and you're like, are you trying to make me look like your ex that you was just on social media obsessing about?
Right.
I'm like, how
and shitting on at one point. It's just all over the place. But we don't need to waste any more energy on that.
No more of it. Because the world is falling apart apparently.
Yes, it is.
So
it is.
We just gonna get right to it. Ukraine.
Dog.
Because a lot happened since the last episode.
Which is wild.
Because, I think we
it hasn't even been a full week.
I know we talked about just the tensions and hostilities.
Sure.
And then we get done with the episode and then go to work and it's oh yeah, Putin invaded Ukraine. And I'm
literally the next day.
Nuh-uh. That doesn't make sense. What? And I'm listening to the news and I was yeah, no, he's in there. The Russian army invaded Ukraine. And I'm going to tell you, so obviously I have two different sets of emotions about this. So I'm just going to start on the Ukraine aspect of it. I'm going to tell I did not understand a lot of, and still don't, I'm not going to pretend like I do.
Okay.
The point of the invasion of Ukraine. I get that Ukraine was part of the old Soviet Union.
Yep.
I get that Putin has never fully accepted.
He's still butthurt.
Right. That they're no longer part of the Soviet Union.
Mind you, he's not that old.
No.
So, when... Granted, he was alive when the Soviet Union.
He wasn't
he was not a major player.
He wasn't. He wasn't the leader during the Cold War, where he's I want them back.
He was a child.
And I also get the strategic benefit of having Ukraine.
Yes. rich in resources.
Location-wise, it's a buffer between you and the rest of Europe. It gives you a place like that to strike from.
Right.
If you can take it successfully.
And not only that, like Ukraine's also not a part of NATO, so like
it's not. And that's the thing. Like he's against them even joining NATO, and that was the other part of it too.
Well, Ukraine did a really poor job of even trying to they expressed interest.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, and that was one of his like when they were negotiating, that was one of his things where he's like, Ukraine cannot join NATO.
Right.
Like that was one of his selling points or one of his like stopping points. So I get that aspect of it. What always kills me, and I understand that my exposure to the news is from a Western perspective.
Very.
So I'm getting what the West is telling me is news. And I know for a fact, like having lived in South Korea when I was in the army and having like been over there and seeing like how like the propaganda would work from like North Korea to South Korea, where the government completely controls
the narrative,
what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the truth gets skewed.
Sure.
So I'm sure that the messaging over there is very
lot different. Yeah.
So I'm not even going to paint it in a good guy, bad guy way, right?
Right.
But it's always so funny to me to think in terms of like these feuding entities, US, Russia, China.
Yeah.
And the trying to like one up each other strategically. And I'm like, but we're not even at an actual like declared war. So it's all just like posturing.
Yep.
It's cyber attacks. It's espionage. It's, agents in countries gathering information.
Yeah.
And it's just like to the point that at some point this is going to boil over and someone's going to pull the trigger. Like you're only going to dick measure for so long until someone's like, you know what, fuck it. And then something's going to pop off.
Right.
And it just kind of seems like we're inching closer to that point of, all right, well, we've been talking for long enough.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part for me, that for decades of this, the Cold War, then even when the Cold War ended there's still so much Cold War era stuff happening under the surface. So it's a little scary to think about it from that perspective. So even like this flat out invasion of Ukraine is like a big escalation from how things have been like kind of just rhetoric.
Yeah.
And under the surface. So, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, especially on the piece where the information that we are exposed to is really coming from like Western outlets, whether it's media or even like people who have opinions.
And TV shows.
Right. Like,
because every TV show paints Russia as the enemy.
Right. I mean, and to be honest with you, I don't think that, and I know I'm going to get canceled for this, but I don't care. Even if we go back to Cold War era, communism in itself is not inherently negative.
No, it's not.
Right? To the point where
we've been taught that.
Well, not only have we been taught that, we've actually adopted some of those ideals, right? Mm-hmm. So like we don't call it communism, right? But when it comes down to it, when we're paying taxes and those taxes go toward the whole, so when it comes to schools, public schools, police, fire, roads, all these things that benefit everybody, like that is a form of communism. Clearly not on the same
it's not
realm as as the Soviet Union. So with all that said, like it's hard for me to have it's hard for me to have a really, really big stance on who is right and who is wrong. What I will say is no matter what, the moment that you start using force to take something,
and
that's where my issue is.
That's the problem that I have, where it's like the narrative now changes, because we can say, like you said, we don't know whose side or what, but if you've decided that you want this country that is right now a free nation, they do not belong to you, even though you've decided that they do. They don't,
because you're like, we're still the USSR, even if we're not.
Like you're not. So so I agree with you. Like at that point, we can all just get on the same page that that's where you're wrong. Like I think that there's a simple, especially because you are killing people to get what you want now. Like, and they're like, look, we don't want no smoke. And you've decided we don't care. Either surrender to us or we're gonna
continue.
We're gonna continue to attack. We're gonna bomb. We're gonna destroy your airports, and that's the route they took. So
that was the scariest part to me, like when they decided to attack the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And not because that like the airport's any more important than housing or commercial buildings, but like you legit remove the port of entry and exit,
right,
as a strategy. I mean, it's totally war strategy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like at that point, it's like, damn, bro, like really, is this really what we're doing?
Right. And they went hard. Now, I would say this. I think that from what I've been hearing just on the news and listening to stories, that I think Ukraine is putting up a better fight than they thought they would.
Bro.
Like they're like, you're not just taking us. It's not going to be a day. You're not just going to walk in here and they're putting up a better fight than the Afghans did.
Without a doubt.
The Taliban rolled through there in like 3 hours.
Right, and had everything.
It was like an episode of a show. By the time you turn around, it's like, oh no, we won. We got it.
Well, because like I think a main difference, and I don't know what the source of this is, but a main difference, if you remember with Afghanistan, and this is probably part of what it is too. Like Afghans took over Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So that's a lot different than like someone else taking over Afghanistan.
Right. And not only that, it was like their forces were never like fully invested.
Correct.
They're like, now we're
so
just
like,
out.
and you see people like literally trying to hop on planes to fly. It's like, there's no way you're gonna fly across.
Right. And the military left them. The military, as soon as they heard, the Taliban's coming through, we're out.
We're out. So with this though, I have to say there's a huge admiration for like patriotism and national pride of the Ukrainian people.
Yeah.
Like when you see, and we're talking about domestic and abroad, right?
Yeah.
Like, of course, like to me, the best soundbite so far has been when the U.S. offered the president to exit.
Yeah, to evacuate.
And he was like, bro, I don't need a ride. I need ammunition. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
There's that. We got like
the Klitschko's.
Klitschko.
They picked up guns. And
He's like, we're fighting. Like we fight in the ring normally, but no, we're fighting for real now.
There was the one woman. She was
like a Miss Ukraine or some beauty pageant, and she's like, no, she's picking up arms.
So I definitely commend that level of like national pride, where you're like, you know what? No, like because a lot of them could escape. Especially the ones with money and means.
Of course,
they could just be like, no, we're not. And you just don't get that level of commitment.
You don't.
From a lot of places.
It's so wild that even Ukrainians like in the US are flying back to Ukraine now, or flying technically to like Poland and the bordering countries to now fight for Ukraine. Like that's a different kind of love.
That's a different
for country, bro.
Level.
It's like no, we're literally going into the war zone.
We're safe,
right? Like
we're 100% safe right now.
We might even be Americans at this point in time, right?
100% safe. So we're like, you know what? Nah, we going over there to that shit.
Best story though.
That's wanting smoke, son. That's when you want all the smoke.
Speaking of smoke, best story that I've seen so far is, and I'm not even gonna try to enunciate the name of this brewery, but like the Ukrainian brewery that decided to halt operations and was like, no, we're gonna make Molotov cocktails now, right? And we also have time, to like recreate the label, and the label.
Oh, they redid the branding too,
and the label itself, like in Ukrainian, I can't remember exactly what it says, but it was like it's something like against Putin. Yeah, it's like and I'm good. I know I'm butchering it, but it's something like suck a dick Putin, like it's something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's dedication.
It's
bro.
Different, bro. It's different.
Dedication.
And we're talking about like everyday people are now going to these places and getting Molotov cocktails. Now, it's not the safest way to do it, but like at least people have a way to try to protect themselves.
They're at least slowing them down to the point where they're like, okay, you're not just gonna take us, right? Like, we're not surrendering. We're not leaving. Like you want it, you got to come earn it,
right?
So
homeboy blew himself up like on a bridge. To make sure that they
couldn't, right.
And part of me wants to be like, I feel like you could have blown that bridge up without you blowing up. But
I don't know.
I wasn't there.
So. I wasn't there. Because I'm not the suicide, but like, I'm all for blowing up the bridge. But I'm like, bro, you got to, is there another way you could have done it?
There's got to be a different way.
I know there was a story about a fighter pilot that was calling him the ghost of Kyiv. Like he was
apparently he's killing it. And he's still killing it.
Yeah, he's out there just shooting down Russian fighter jets left and right. So
yep. And the reason they call him Ghost is because he's been doing it and nobody can catch him.
Right. So
which I think is super dope.
Like, honestly, that's the crazy thing. Like, this is the type of stuff like you hear about from movies, and it's like legit happening like in real life overseas, but it's like you don't hear about like old school dog fights in the sky anymore. Like, that's not a thing. You know what I'm saying? So apparently it is.
This is like the now new age version of like the Red Tails.
Yeah.
Right? Like and clearly not the same.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? But
like when you're actually hearing about like a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
I will say, as we say that, I remember the meme where it's like, okay, I'm just tired of living through once in a lifetime events now. Like
it's like once in a lifetime events are happening a little bit too frequently.
A little bit too frequently at this point. I'm like, I'm over them now, but like, it's crazy. The world's response.
It's been beautiful. But here's my only thing though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the world's response, I think, would work for the Western world. Well, part of the world's response. So let me backtrack.
Right, so what are you considering the world's response?
So the initial piece I'm talking about is like everyone literally stepping out and being like, this is wrong.
Like condemning it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that primary piece, I was like, this is stupid. Putin doesn't care about any of the shit that you guys are talking about. Like their culture in general is not one to care about diplomacy so much. If they believe something is true, they don't really give a shit if it makes you feel bad.
And I don't know that it's not that they don't care about diplomacy. I think they don't care about social media. They don't care about public shaming. So it's more more a place of, yeah, you can say I'm wrong all you want.
Right.
But that doesn't change how I feel about this particular thing.
Correct. Right? And that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So but to your point though, that's not the only part of the world,
right? Because that was where they started, and that didn't work.
That part just was stupid. Like it was great. It's almost like the protests.
Yeah, it's like
it's like okay, sure. Well, you guys are letting us know what the issue is, but when the action started, and we're not even talking about like
because no one's fought,
no physical action,
right?
But like just the strategy behind how we're gonna start doing things. So the sanctions, and a lot of people were like, oh, that's not gonna work, but
it's beyond just sanctions.
Well, it started with sanctions.
And it was like, all right, that's not going to work. And they levied heavier sanctions. And then they were like, okay, well, we're cutting out your access to banks. We're cutting out your access to your funds. We're cutting off your ability to fly over our countries. We're making all of our countries no-fly zones. So you can't, don't send no airplanes over here at all.
We shoot them down.
Right.
Or we're shooting at them. Right. One or two.
So they completely, the ruble, they crippled the economy.
Bruh. Yo, I'm gonna say this. When these two countries in particular decide to step in, like something's going too far. So when Germany, who was already on the bad side of history, once, and they decided like we will not supply defense spending into any like areas that we're not a part of. That's just not our thing. Right? Like we've done enough of that in our history. We want to be far from that. Right. When they're like, no, we got to do it.
Right.
We're gonna start sending like anti-tank machinery and all this other shit to like Ukraine. So there's that. So I was like, okay, I see Germany stepping up, trying to like be on the right side of history here. Right. But the one that really got me was Switzerland. Like Switzerland, like they literally are the epitome of come through here and everybody's safe. Like
we're neutral.
We're neutral. We've been neutral since 1815.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Treaty of Paris. We're not touching anything.
Right.
I don't care if your money's dirty, if your money's clean, bring it here. Right. We'll manage it. We'll keep your anonymity. I was like that.
You butchered that word.
Yeah, I butchered it, right? But when Switzerland is like, we're gonna side with the sanction side, and we're gonna cut off access to your money here. So now all the oligarchs who have money parked in Switzerland have no access to their money anymore. Right. Like that's serious as hell, and like not a bullet has flown toward Russia from anywhere else.
Right. Well, and because everyone kind of knew that. Not that they don't want that smoke with Russia, because there's the thing, right? Russia's biggest threat is not just its military ability. Sure. Because if it was just a straight up fight,
right?
The US Army could beat the Russian army.
Hands down.
The only problem becomes
we fight fair and they don't.
not even just that. The problem is that just once there's a nuclear threat,
right?
Nobody wants to be the first one,
correct,
to start that. You know, so that's why everything is so hands off because like.
I just don't want to touch that shit.
Right, like we know they have the ability to, so which was why when all the sanctions and everything started to really affect the economy,
right,
he put his people on nuclear alert now. So now he's like showing that, look, you've backed me into a corner. Here,
look at the size of my dick.
Right, like I still have this as an option, even though, like you said, nobody's fought against him.
Right, not one person.
Nobody has sent a troop. The U.S. has repeatedly said we're sending no combat troops in.
Which is actually not true. Because we sent some troops.
They did not send any. They sent troops to like the outskirts.
Right, so it's like Poland and shit.
Right, and a lot of that is for evacuation.
Right.
That's to make sure that we can get our dignitaries and anybody.
And let me actually backtrack. The U.S. didn't send troops to, like, solely send troops to Poland. They're actually like special forces folks who were like, fuck that. We're going. Because the president of Ukraine was like, we welcome anyone who's here to support us. And you got special forces folks from the U.S. I've read an article rather, this week. Ooh, like they're U.S. special forces folks who are like, fuck, we here for the fight. They haven't really got the fight for a while. They're like, fuck it. All right, like we going to Poland. We'll fight for this shit.
So I was just thinking about it. Like, I would hate, because Putin is clearly a little unhinged.
Little?
Well, I say a little because again, I know that the narrative is painted of Putin and Kim and Xi Jinping of these, and even they don't paint him as crazy.
Yeah, he's not that bad.
No. So it's really kind of
North Korea and Russia,
and they portray them as these lunatics, right?
Because they fucking are.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know that because I've never I'm going off of what the news is telling me about them.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's say I'm gonna believe it, right?
Right.
If you're that unhinged, now I'm legitimately concerned because I'm like, at what point does he get to is like, well, fuck it, I'll just push the button, you know? And then what's next at that point? Like, that's what I don't want, you know?
So the scariest thing for me so far, kind of an extension of what you're saying, is Russia flew a plane and landed in Venezuela. Mm-hmm. Again, to flex.
Right.
And show, like, oh, we just let you know that we got it.
Right.
And the problem with that is two things.
Close to Trinidad.
Close to Trinidad. Dog, we could see Venezuela from Trinidad, right?
So like half of Trini is Venezuela now. So
a lot of them are actually leaving because of inflation in Trinidad. But still, like, either way, Venezuela is right there, and not just the Trinidad, because the Trinidad piece doesn't really matter. Nobody fuck with Trinidad. They don't care about Trinidad.
Right.
But Venezuela is not far from us.
Venezuela is not far from, like, it's in South America, in one of the Americas. But at the same time, there's a big difference between flying a plane,
sure,
and because at some point it's like you said, like at some point it's a flex, and it's like, all right, we see it. Don't do that shit or anything similar to that again.
Right.
It was kind of like with the old standoff, the Cuban Missile Crisis. You know what I mean? We get to the precipice of war because it's like, all right, we got to see who's gonna blink first, and I didn't live through any of that. All I had was like
history lessons on it,
right? Yeah. And I'm like, I wouldn't know how to function with being that close,
right,
to like a global catastrophe, because that's what I think the problem is with just the thought of one person deciding I'm gonna use a nuke. You know?
Yeah. I mean, and then you look at even the Bay of Pigs, and like that was not executed well at all.
Right.
Like, not to say that I don't think that administrations now would do a better job, but history hasn't shown us that you all have done a better job. So, and Venezuela is actually in a position economically that like their influence can be swayed based off of who can support them better.
Absolutely.
So like at that point, I mean, Venezuela might really be the new Cuba,
right,
in this space. And that shit scares me a little bit too, because again, it's right by fucking Trinidad, dog. Right by Trinidad. I want to go carnival in 2023, dog.
Damn.
Well, yo, can you imagine? No, and I don't want to put this out there, but like, I'm sorry, the train of thought's already started, right? Could you imagine? We missed Trinidad Carnival 2 years because of COVID, and then next year we miss it because of fucking World War III. John.
Let me tell you something.
I said to you earlier, I would not pick up arms. Horse, I'm picking up arms for that shit.
I'm going back to the military.
I'm picking up arms for that shit.
They need help? I come in. I pass in through. So, what's funny? No, it's not funny, but it's crazy to look at something that like we have been saying about us for a long time.
Yeah.
Where like we talk about the power of economics.
Sure.
That if we were to ever like be unified economically, how much change could happen. And you see it here where like the world has decided, well, without any fighting.
Right. We can change the course of a potential war.
Right. We're going to economically cripple this country.
Right.
And they did.
Right. And I'll say, like, and keep that thought. But historically, like, if you really think about it historically, it doesn't matter how much actual wars happen. Most wars end because of economic crippling. Right. So, like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, when you think about it from that perspective, this war didn't even start.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he invaded a country.
Right, let's cripple that nigga now.
Right, and the rest of the world was like, no, we're gonna shut you off financially. Now what? Eventually, your people are gonna starve. Like, someone is gonna do what we won't do. And then you can't even blame us at that point. That was your people that did that. Like, all we did was cut off your food. You know? So, like, if we could ever, and I know it's a different, it's not apples, it's apples to oranges. Sure. But it just shows like how things change when money gets involved and when money gets cut off. Mm-hmm. When that's the route you take, you don't actually need force and violence all the time.
Which is actually kind of beautiful.
Yeah, like
a little bit.
You can absolutely flex financially and be like, I'm not sending a troop over there. We're good right here. We'll flip this switch. Now you ain't got no lights.
And it actually helped restore a little bit of faith that I don't think I had in global markets in general. Mm-hmm. Because like I'm not anti-capitalism, but like I truly do believe that a lot of people don't have the capacity to embrace capitalism for what it is, like the beauty of it and the power of it, and use it for good. Like so many people use it for greed and shit on so many people as a result. So to see it actually used in a positive way, and like not just domestically, but literally globally, people are like, all right, let's rally around this shit and we're gonna stop. Like it helped me understand
but you know,
maybe there is some light at the end of the tunnel for this.
The crazy thing about it is it's used in a positive way, but in a punitive way. Like that's,
for sure.
It's like it's not even really used in a positive way. It's
positive for us because we just don't want to see war.
Right. So it's used, but it's completely used punitively. So it almost shows parts of the evils of it. Right. And using it that way.
It's honestly, you're right. That's the equivalent of like cancel culture when it's something that we don't like.
Right. It's literally it's exactly that. It's cancel culture working the way you want it to.
Touche.
So now we got to get to the other piece of this though, because bruh. Mm-hmm.
I already know where you're going.
So, like, okay, you wanted to stand in solidarity with Ukraine because on the one hand, you don't want to see anybody getting invaded, right? Like, so there's just that aspect of it.
Because we have been the victims of that bullshit.
And not even just that, like just watching a country anywhere where they're like, we don't want no smoke, we chilling, and someone to say, cool, you're ours now, right?
Right.
But then you find out that even in the midst of war,
racism is still a priority.
They finding time to be racist, to put that up top, like, bruh.
Right.
Yeah. So we're talking about them discriminating against all brown people.
Sure. So
black,
not just black,
African,
so black, Arabic,
some Asian. Like, if you're not white,
right, Anglo-Saxon,
they're not letting you on the buses and trains to get to the border. So it's not even like...
Oh, and not even that. So there's that, but there's also, even when you get to the border, if you are a person of color, you need to get to the back of the line. We're letting our Anglo-Saxon brethren out the country first.
Right. So, and it's the Ukrainian military that's supposedly doing this. Now, again, I saw this on social media.
I totally assumed originally that it was like the country, so like the Polands of the world.
Right, the other countries like, no, we don't want no black people.
Right. And when you actually pointed out to me...
Right, because it was like, you know, seeing it on social media, you're like, all right, this
doesn't make sense.
This is the quick way to get misinformed, is to follow a social media post and think it's fact. So let me look a little further. And then like when you start to read like articles from credible news sources saying, yeah, no, this is what we're being told is happening. Like, we're not there either, but these are the reports coming out of these countries. And you're seeing some of the like videos and you're like, I can't argue with video.
So I'll take it a step further. Did you hear about the students from Jamaica?
No.
So first of all, and like I told you on the phone, like well before the episode, I didn't realize that black people even were in Ukraine. Not to say that I didn't know. I guess I knew that black people were in Ukraine, but like I didn't know that there were like as many.
Yeah.
Like for this to be an actual story, there are a lot of black people and like people of color affected by this.
Work, study abroad programs, all this stuff.
Correct. Right. So there are a bunch of students. I think there are 24 in particular from Jamaica that are in the Ukraine studying medicine or something like that, right? So they spoke to their it's not the embassy, but like the diplomat. It's not the diplomat, but anyway, like it's you already know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So it's like foreign affairs or something like that.
Okay.
I said, all right. So we need you guys to get from wherever you are. So I think there were like 2 different places. So it was like the capital and like one other place. You should get to the border of Poland. They actually organized the bus for them. Right. Right. So they ended up having to meet up. Like one set got there, another set got there to like the mustering point, and then like one other person that was supposed to leave with the first group didn't leave at first. Eventually got there. Okay. Bus ride toward Poland. Right. Like 20 kilometers before the border, they're stopped. Not clear on who exactly stopped them. Okay. But they were stopped and they were told the bus can either go back to where it came from or y'all can get out of the bus and walk on foot. Right. And he said, of course, they got out the bus and walked on foot. Great to know, though, that all of them got across. Okay. But we're talking about, like, all these students had to walk 20 kilometers, which is a little... Is it less or more than 10 miles?
5K is
3.5
miles.
So, yeah. So, like... So we're talking about a little over 10 miles that they had to walk. Right. Right, which doesn't sound bad.
No, it's pretty bad.
It doesn't sound bad normally, like, if you're from here. Right. But we're talking about 10 miles... in the Ukraine where it's a little bit colder than it is.
But not even just that though, like if I'm not an athlete, right, and you're telling me that I walk 10 miles. Now granted, if I'm fleeing a war zone,
it doesn't matter.
I'll run 10. I'll run 100.
Like I don't care, right?
Like, but at the same time, I'm like, it's so unreasonable. Like, and so the frustrating part is like, it's almost like they don't care what happens to you when you're not white. They just don't care. It's like you're not, because you can't even flee a war.
Yeah, and
the same as white people.
You hit the nail on the head at the beginning, right? It's like collectively the country has decided this is a problem. We need to evacuate people. Right. Right. But despite the fact that, like, literally we're talking about human life being just, like, compromised here. Right.
And we're just trying to get y'all out of the country.
We still got to we still got to prioritize. Like, right. Your human life is not as important as his human life. We need to get him out first. And like, even if you're at the front of the line, nope. Oh, you're white? Come here.
And the crazy thing I heard at first that Zelensky was not letting males leave the country.
Yeah, so like between a certain age, so I think it's like 18 to
like if you're war fighting age, it's like no,
and it actually went a little far. I think it's like almost 60. Yeah, because 60 now is like there's some 60-year-olds that like they're fit.
Can you hold the gun? Cool, right. Shoot it that way. Right. Just shoot it in that direction. That's all we need.
All we need is cover. Right. Yeah. So it's wild as shit.
And then on a side note, like the crazy thing is like when you think about the amazing experience it is, because when we talk about like, oh, like I didn't believe there were black people there. I was like, but imagine being a student and you get to study in any foreign country where you're getting like, you no longer have this narrow worldview that a lot of people have from only growing up here and learning this. And then you get to actually shit. Right. Then you get there and then this happens. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is everywhere.
So racism really is globally.
This is not just the US. This is literally cool. Good to know. So
Right.
But that was the messed up piece of it. And it's like, it gives me just I'm just so torn between like what at first was this admiration for their fighting spirit. Sure. And now I'm just like, nah, fuck them. Because I can acknowledge that I believe Russia is still wrong for what they're doing and they should not have done it.
100%.
And still say, yeah, but this shit that y'all are doing is also wrong.
Well, yeah, because you're not just human by showing that, but you also are a critical thinker, right? Like, and you understand that everything is not mutually exclusive. So I'm right there with you, right? Like, I can condemn Russia for what they're doing and also condemn Ukraine for what they're doing.
Because I'm not like, right? Russia's right. I'm like, no, Russia's still wrong.
Right, but it's like, but Ukraine, y'all really fucking up.
Y'all are fucking up on this. And whoever it is that gave these directives, and whoever it is that's following it, because it's like there's the person that and it shows that it's systemic.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, because
it's not one person. Like,
well, not only that, it might very well not even be somebody giving them directive for this.
Right, they may just know.
That just might be a part of who they are.
Like, right, they're like, no, not you guys. Them first. Like, why? Because, bro, they're white. What do you think? Like,
and the irony though is, so from a strategy standpoint, right? So not to go too deep into political science here, but like I said earlier, Ukraine is not a part of NATO.
Right.
And the beauty about Article 5 of NATO is that anyone who is a part of NATO, if they are attacked by anyone clearly outside of NATO,
right,
all of the countries that are a part of the treaty take that as being attacked.
Right. Which is another one of the reasons Putin doesn't want them to.
Correct. Right. Now, so I had to go do some digging because I was like, why isn't the Ukraine part of NATO? Like, I get why Russia's not. Like, that makes sense.
Right.
Like, why isn't Ukraine part of NATO? Right. So I started doing some digging, and there's some requirements that you have to like meet in order to be a part of NATO.
Right.
And I won't go into all of them. One of them is that it's not a military state, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So it has to be moving toward democracy in particular. But there was one that really, really resonated with me in particular because of exactly what we're talking about. And it talked about like more or less not shitting on minorities, not having discriminatory practices within the fabric of your country,
with like woven into who you are. Because even like when you think about it, by those metrics, right? Like the U.S. has that,
right? Well, yeah, yes,
but it's not like back in the days of Jim Crow, where the laws are written a certain ways. Now it's mainly practice.
Sure, and I'll also say, like, to be honest, NATO's biggest like superpower is the U.S.
Right.
So the U.S. can be like, look, even though we got a shit ton of racism here and we really don't care about our people here,
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
No, but you know what I'm saying, like, but you can't put that as one of the rules.
Correct.
As you know what I'm saying, so they can put that as one of the rules. No, it's not in the laws here. We're not a racist country. Like, you kind of are. It's not in the laws.
Right.
True.
But what's wild to me though is that Ukraine couldn't even meet those requirements, right? So I'll say this as a consultant. This isn't typically what we do, but there are times where we have to help a client meet some kind of mandate. And we're like, all right, we know we can't change the culture, but we can check some boxes.
Right.
So if that means that we have to write some bylaws that meet this, and we have to do a training that does this, and we have to we'll do that shit. So Ukraine couldn't even, before all this popped off, do this. And the issue is now, even if Ukraine wanted to try to do that now, the rest of NATO is like, well, you're technically like on the brink of war. We're not adopting you into NATO now to go to war.
Right. In the middle of it.
Right. Like, you got to do this shit beforehand. Right. And then we jump on. Like, come on, bro.
Because like we said, nobody actually wants to like start. And again, it's not even like they're scared of Russia per se. Right. It's like nobody wants to get that nuclear threat started. Like, nobody wants to be the first guy, you know? Like,
at all.
Imagine like being at the pearly gates and be like, well, how did the world end? Because this nigga wanted to press the fucking nuke. Because
they're all there.
Right. They're like, we was chilling and this nigga decided to be the one to set off the nuke. Now look where we at. So I get it. Like, everybody trying to be that guy. But it's crazy when you look at the way like this is covered versus like Israel and and that's why I said it's part of the problem with this news coverage in general. Sometimes when you're
looking at Western culture versus like where this shit's actually happening.
Right. It's always different though.
Dog. It's all patriotic when you look at Ukraine. And I think honestly I think it is patriotic.
No, I don't.
Based off of what we know.
Yeah, there's no debate in that.
Right,
So-
but then when you look at Israel-Palestine, like there's that part of, well, if you say anything against Israel, you're an anti-Semite.
Right.
Right, like so it's like so now what do we have to do? We have to paint the Palestinians as terrorists or whatever other negative
connotation you
yeah,
can add to it.
it's so messy. And then like it's hard to not see a main difference. And I don't want to use like I don't want to go with the Shikari effect of being
right, like I don't want to always
it's about race, but it's like, well, you got the Arabs.
But sometimes a spade is a spade. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you do have to. Sometimes when you play the card, it is the actual correct card to play. It's not like you're just pulling it out for no reason. So I get it.
Right.
But I'm just still like, when I look at the bigger picture, I just wish we had a little bit more equity.
Yeah.
In how we consume some of this information, because the information is still. Like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist person. I'm not saying, oh, we're brainwashed or anything, but it's sometimes it's clear.
We're conditioned.
Right. And the news is conditioned to report certain things a certain way. It's like, even like we said with like the TV shows, like for as long as I could remember, Russians have been painted as bad guys in TV shows.
Well, no.
Every show that it talks about terrorism or the CIA or anything like that.
North Korea or Russia.
All the time.
Or China.
Right. So like, I get the conditioning. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, we are told that these are the enemies, so that as we get older, we know that, hey, these are the people we need to be looking out for, fighting against, or whatever.
So last point I'll make about that, and I 100% agree with you. It's really just going to help strengthen exactly what you're saying. It's really unfortunate though, because the access to the information is there. Now, granted, there are some people and some organizations that try to limit that access, so I'm not going to sit there and act like it's always easily accessible, but everyone is not like us who are interested in actually getting a balanced side of the story. So I say to my friends all the time, especially when it comes to U.S. politics, I'll listen to MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News. And I'll listen to each of the stories, hear each of like the way they posture it to try to figure out like what actually happened.
The problem, it's so hard to do.
It's difficult.
Because all of the news sources are putting such a spin on it. It gets crazy where like you will listen to all three and you can hear the parts that they're completely leaving out. Yeah. Like just completely omitting from the story. Or they're not even covering the story because there is no way to spin it. So they're just going to talk about something completely different. Correct. Depending on which channel and who's painted a negative picture. I honestly say that's why I used to love getting my news from like Jon Stewart. Yeah. Or even now from like John Oliver and from Trevor Noah, because they're comics.
Right. They tend to be more balanced.
Right. So even when it is painting the Democrats in a negative light, if they can throw a joke on it,
they'll do it.
They'll do it.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
So they won't spare, and they're all liberal, they're all super on the left, but they will not spare you for the sake of avoiding the comedy. Right. So you tend to get at least a more balanced, and of course it has a lean, but it's still more balanced.
It's more centrist than it is like complete left.
Than it is Fox News, because Fox News is so far to the right.
Right. It's yeah. So like so with all that said, I actually fear that there are a ton of people who are not interested in doing the work. Even if you gave you can give bullet points and all right, so here's the pros, here are the cons from the lefts. Here are the pros, here are the cons from the right. Figure out like what your opinion is. Like the way news is actually supposed to be. Right. Right? Like I think a lot of people want to be told what to think. Like I call them sheeple. Right. Right? And as a result, we have like a huge decline on critical thinking in general.
I think it's even simpler than that though. Okay. It goes back to what you said one time before. I think it's just like confirmation bias. It's not even that they want to be told what to think. I already think this.
I only want to hear people that's going to help me.
Like, I already think this. I just need you to confirm it for me. Yeah. And that's the only source of news I want. The source of news that's going to say what I already believe to be true.
Yeah. So and big my chest up. Like it's so sad. It's so sad because like at that point it's difficult for me to actually have conversations with people.
Oh.
Like I legit like so.
I won't converse if you're super left or super right. I won't converse.
So I'll start the conversation. Like when I
say
won't
like, converse, I mean like once I identify
right. The moment that I realize that you are far anything and you aren't interested in hearing any different perspective, it doesn't even have to do with politics. Like this is even like relationship shit, like
whatever it is,
school shit, whatever it is. My go-to is you got it. Like
because
I just say you got it.
Right, because at that point I understand I'm not gonna sway you.
Right.
And I'm also not interested. I'm no longer interested in your point of view because now I realize that you're just arguing to prove your point.
Sure.
You're not trying to learn anything. Whereas I could actually benefit from some of what you would have to say if we're approaching this conversation more open-minded.
And I'll take it a little step further. I don't actually even go into conversations trying to sway anybody to begin with.
No,
right?
No.
So it's not even a case of I can't sway you.
Yeah.
For me, it's you're not even open to hearing a different perspective.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Not even trying to sway you, like you're not even listening. So
it's a wrap.
So before we close up,
can we finish on like a happy note?
Well, yeah, kind of. Okay. I mean, if we call this a happy note,
well, like a more positive note than people fucking potentially dying. Well, not potentially dying.
Yeah.
In Ukraine.
So we'll talk about the NBA. LeBron said his goal is to he would accept a trade. If it means he would get to play 1 year with his kid, which I think is a dope concept.
I love it. I think it's the first time it's ever happened.
Yeah, in the NBA, because I know they were talking about that one game where like in MLB, like Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. got to play on the same team, I believe.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that until like they were talking about the LeBron thing, and I think they mentioned
I didn't even know that Ken Griffey Sr. played, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't really follow baseball like that.
I follow it, which makes it even worse for me, but like I only started following it in like the 90s, so like
Yeah, baseball's pretty boring though. Like baseball's just golf, bro. Baseball's just golf at this point.
No, baseball is so much more entertaining than golf. But anyway, I think it's dope. But to your point though, I think that it's Bronny.
Yeah.
Like he's not eligible for the draft until not next year, but like
he
the
needs
year
a
after.
couple of years. I think like 24 or something like that.
Right. So it's 24. So 2 years from now,
LeBron has to stay healthy and stay in the league. And he mentioned today. So here's the thing, like there's it's kind of conflicting because I think they were talking about like he hinted that he would like to finish his career with the Lakers or something to that effect.
So he's trying to strong arm the Lakers to draft Bronny.
Ain't much strong arming to do, dog. Like
right.
It's his team right now. So, but that's what I'm saying. I'm like, so I don't know if his plan is to get them to get Bronny when he's coming in, or if he's willing to move, because there's just so much talk. Like there's so much going on with the Lakers right now. They're a tire fire. Like LeBron is having a great season,
but everybody else is not. So here's the thing, though, right? Here's the thing. This could go like one of two ways. So I think the positive way is Bronny gets a good contract at like whatever number he comes in, he gets a good contract,
right?
And LeBron takes the L on his contract for the sake of his son getting
but Bronny could play for $12 an hour. Like
I know, I get that.
Fine.
I get it. Yeah. But there is still a certain level of like when you're a man, I want to be able to like to get what I'm worth.
No debate in that whatsoever.
Right. So I think that there's that aspect of it, right? On one hand. But then like if it ends up being the Lakers, right? Unless LeBron's contract is up.
It will be by then because I think it's over like next year.
But not just that. Like unless his contract is up, and also they're willing to give Bronny a big contract and LeBron a small contract to be like, all right, we'll make it work, but here's what the numbers we have. Then essentially, like Bronny could get fucked in this decision because he could take a shitty contract depending on where they go.
Right. I don't see that happening.
I hope not.
Right. Because remember, LeBron's boy, like Rich Paul, Clutch Sports. So they're not going to let him get a shit contract. LeBron can take, because LeBron will be in the tail end of his career at that point.
Sure.
He can take a shit contract because he's made his money.
Right.
So he can legit either negotiate to get him with the Lakers, get him something decent for wherever he lands, right? Sure. Wherever he is in his, because again, he's going to be unproven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's going to be an unproven commodity. You're going to assume he's going to be somewhat as good as LeBron, but you just don't.
Yeah.
Like you don't think
I would never make that assumption.
But when I say somewhat as good, I mean like just that, just somewhat. Like, okay, Are you going to be a decent ball player? Cool. Like
I was about to say like that's it right there.
Right, that's it. You're not going to be your dad, and we don't think we're drafting the next LeBron.
Right.
You kind of go into it accepting that. So
And
we're going to give you...
We're giving you a big contract to get your father.
To get your dad to hang around for one more year, and hopefully we can make his... Because we'll sell out for the season. Season tickets will be gone. We'll sell,
the jerseys will be dope.
everything.
Like
they'll
do like bundle packages like
right. So
James and James.
So
like,
all of that is like we're thinking 1 year of heavy marketing.
Right.
We don't expect to win a championship this year. If we could pull that off too.
Dog. So here's the only other thing I'll say. So I could only imagine. Now, granted, I don't know the relationship that like LeBron has with his son.
Okay.
Right?
It's good from what I could.
No, for sure, right? But still, there's a difference between just having a good relationship with your dad as like a dad and son and a whole different
as teammates.
Dog, it's a huge thing, right? So I know me. And I'm not even remotely as competitive as LeBron is.
Right.
Right? Like I'm not a professional athlete.
Right.
Right? And I got like, and my son, my oldest son, Cameron, he's a basketball player.
Right.
And I get aggravated because they're a little, like, I'm not even a basketball player. I'm a fucking soccer player.
Right.
And there are things where I'm like, bruh, come on, you got to work on this.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine
being on the same team.
Them being on the same team. Oh, I know I couldn't work with Cameron. But like, them being on the same team. And remember, at the end of the day, whether LeBron takes a small contract or a big contract, whatever it is, like, he's still a leader on the team.
Absolutely.
Even if he's not the captain.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So, like, he's going to be telling whoever's on the team, like, you got to do this, you got to do that. Like,
that dynamic, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Like, I wouldn't wish that on Bronny. Like, I would be like,
that's my point.
Like, LeBron wanting to do that, like, when you think about it like that,
that's
like,
a shit ton of pressure that I would not want to be a part of.
Nope. I wouldn't want that either. Well, good luck to them both. Hope it works out.
I hope it works out. It'll be great. The first, and it wouldn't even be black. The first father-son duo
to play on the same
NBA
team
history.
To play. And it would be a dope concept. I would
without
love to
a doubt. Like I would actually love to eat. Like even though I don't play video games, I would buy whatever the NBA 2K is
for that
year, just to be like, I have.
That would actually be pretty dope,
right?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That would actually be pretty dope. I would like if they came to DC. I'd
go to Wizards. Yeah, I'd go to Wizards.
You know them tickets gonna be sold out though. Like
I don't care.
Yeah,
I'll figure it out.
Right. Well, y'all, it's been another great episode. We want to thank you guys for rocking with us. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure that you like and subscribe. Follow us on all social media platforms at Guys Unpacked. Share the link. Click to get all the notifications when we have new episodes. So,
make sure you also, if you don't particularly want to watch it on YouTube, you hop on all of our podcast platforms. We're all there. We're there. We're everywhere. Like, subscribe, comment, share, do all of the engagement shit because we're trying to grow.
All right. So, with that being said,
this is Dre.
This is Rich. And
this is the Guys Unpacked.
We are out.
If you enjoyed this, make sure you check out all our full episodes on YouTube at Guys Unpacked.
Also available anywhere you get your podcast, and follow us on all social media at Guys Unpacked.